Does Marvel Comics not have body diversity girls like what other fields say? Yeah, I said that. I talked about this a few streams ago, and I dislike it. Do I know? Do we want to go back, like open that again? I mean, I already went on like a whole discussion about women and beauty standards around them. So much more harder, and in video games it's always so upheld. You kind of have to be fit to go around running saving people non-stop. The thing is, we're not talking about just Marvel, but in any video game. Like, if we look at League of Legends or Overwatch, like Roadhog and all that, it's like, the guys can all be like really, really big and circle, whereas women, there's always, at most, just like thick and curvaceous, but it's never like Roadhog or Gragas size. And if there is ever a character that's like that, they always have some sort of explanation for it, like, oh my god, her ability is to eat as much and then vomit it out, which is like, okay. The thing is, being skinny isn't fit. Like, I'm skinny, but I'm not fit, because bitch, if I run like 10 steps, I'm out of breath. Like, I'm not fit. But I always get comments of like, oh, you look very fit, and guys always like it, and they're like, oh, like, you look really hot, you look really fit. I'm like, girl, I'm not. Well, boy, I'm not. And it's like, there's this like justification of like, always like skinny girls. It's not, but at the end of the day, like, you can make all this you can make all this justification of like, oh my god, it's like, you would need to be fit to be a hero, blah blah. But at the end of the day, they make all these women skinny and hot and all that because they know it is harder to sell a unconventionally, a character that is not conventionally attractive. That's just quite literally the thing. Like, no matter how you kind of like want to spin it around. I don't play The Witcher, but on my TikTok, The Witcher has been popping off, The Witcher 4, and the guys are really upset about how the main character looks like an ugly lady, an ugly old lady that looks like a man or something. And this stuff matters, because you might think like, oh, it's just a video game, why does it matter? Oh, it's just movies, why does it matter? It matters because it does have real life consequences. That is, women are upheld to this beauty standard constantly, which is unrealistic and just not normal. Like, for example, thank you for the sub, IK Miss Girl. For example, the reason why so many people thought that that cis athlete, the boxer lady in the Olympics was trans, is not because of any scientific, like, oh my god, they have XY chromosomes. It's simply because they see like a masculine looking woman and they think it's a man. And the reason why JK Rowling just keeps on attacking athletes, because she's probably attacked like 5 athletes by now, another one recently, like in past few days, is because she thinks that these are all trans women competing in sports, but she doesn't realize it's just a masculine looking cis woman.
JK Rowling, you make it so hard to be a Harry Potter fan. Every time you say stupid shit is voluntary. Shutting the fuck up is free. And yet here we are. This is a woman. But here you are on your transphobic shit talking about that's a man. I don't know what trans baddie took your man. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. Cause now it's starting to give a little racism too. It's starting to give a little racism. What the fuck is the shut the hell up spell? What spell is that?
They don't all look like these porn stars, cause like, no fucking shit, okay? Like, no fucking shit. But that's what that's kind of what we as a society are so used to because of media, right? Because of adult videos, because of video games, because of movies, shows. It's just this normalization of skinny, 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 pretty, 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 hot girl shit.
Don't give them another inch.
And it does have real life consequences. It really does. Now, it's not like I expect one video game company to change the whole entire mindset of the world, you know, and I'm not. I understand from a business standpoint, you want to make pretty characters,
Team to win this one.
conventionally pretty characters, to sell skins and sell the game and whatever, sell a character, but you don't have to make everything that. You don't have to make every single girl the skinny hot girl shit, you know? Like, if 90% is that, you can afford to make like 10% things, looks that go against the grain, you know, go against the beauty standards. Obviously, my association with this is a bit more personal with the trans stuff, but even cis women would suffer a lot with the beauty standards, and I'm sure if you have anyone in your life or even just heard stories of women that look a lot more masculine, they don't even have to be lesbians or anything. I'm sure you might have heard things of like how people think they're a man and they might be misgendered
Securing the
and
mission area is your top priority.
not denied access from the toilets, but they might like be pulled up like, oh, are you in the right toilets or whatever. When it's like, yeah, I'm just a masculine woman, like, please. I'm not trans or anything. Like, even the voices, like, some people might think a deep voice means trans. So all I know is, even as a little girl, the first thing you're always told is you're so pretty, and from that time you have to put the standard. Yeah, not that I've been told that as a little girl, obviously, but I get that, like, stuff like, oh, you're very pretty for a trans woman, or stuff like that, like, obviously I get it, guys are complimenting you and all that. And not even if they say, like, you're for a trans woman, or like, when you know, like, a lot of your worth comes from your physical appearance, or not your worth, but to the guys, like, your appeal, should I say, your appeal. I don't really know where I want to go with this point. I feel like the point, my idea is at the tip of my tongue, but I don't know how to word this, or what I'm even thinking. Because I definitely resonate with that comment, but I don't know how to word how I'm feeling. Like, there always is a pressure in my mind of like, you need to look good in this world as a trans woman, or as a woman, but even I feel doubly so as a trans woman, right? Don't get me wrong, it can kind of sound a bit like, sound like, oh my god, like, you're just flexing, like, look at you, like, I wish I could have this problem of looking too hot and the beauty standard. I'm aware it can kind of sound like that, but I would say, for me, with my trans journey, looking pretty, like conventionally pretty or whatever, it's a lot of active steps. It's not something that kind of just happened for me. It's a lot of active steps in, like, studying how to physically look, like, attractive and fit in or whatever. And it does become really tiring in the sense, like, it seems like so annoyingly unfair in the sense like you just kind of like get really frustrated at some point when you keep seeing it around the world, like, look at men, they don't have to have so much strict beauty standards unless you're a gay guy on Grindr or something, you know. That's another thing, gay guys on Grindr with their high standards, that's something else. But yeah, it does kind of get really annoying to constantly see, like, you could have a Gragas in League of Legends, you could have a Roadhog in League of Legends, Overwatch, but you would never find a girl character like that unless there is an explanation for it. Like, their ability is to eat lots of food and then vomit it out and then they turn skinny. Or some shit like that, you know what I mean? Or like, even like, let's just say Demon Slayer. the anime. Like, all the guys have muscles and are big and buff, and that girl with the whip, that pink-haired girl whip sword, she has a lot of muscles, but aesthetically it doesn't really look like that because her explanation, her story is that her muscles are very condensed. Like, she's actually really strong, she has a lot of muscles, but it's just very condensed because, like, why not? And so they can kind of have their cake of here's a muscle buff lady, but also be very hot and like skinny looking, like thick looking, should I say, you know? So they can like have their cake and half their cake and eat it, or whatever that saying is. I forget what it's called. You know what I'm saying, right? When you constantly see that in media, in video games and all that, it does get really annoying to see and tiring and see, you know? And then also you kind of think about like how you probably won't ever see much change. It's not gonna ever change, really. And if it does change, you'll probably be dead by then. Like, it would take many, many generations type of thing. Yes, I saw that, Nathan, on how it worked. Like, you know, Witcher 4, the example I talked about? I don't play The Witcher, but do we have any Witcher people here? So, this character from The Witcher is going to be the next main character for The Witcher 4. I don't know the story, apparently she's like set up for it, like it was like known if you read the books or whatever. And so, a lot of people are calling this work and blah 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 because a lot of guys, like incels, are kind of looking at this character and be like, oh my god, they look ugly, they look like a man, and whatever. And it's like, it's crazy to think that they would want Geralt, like they're fine for Geralt to look like this. Like, he is old, you can see the wrinkles, like, let's be real. But it's fine because he's a man. But then when it comes to a woman who, and they don't even look that masculine, but like, yeah, we'll take their word and say it. It's like, this isn't acceptable, this isn't allowed, right? It's like, what would they be fine with then? Like, is this Witcher 4 character meant to look like Ahri? Are they meant to look like Luna Snow? Like, what? That wouldn't make any sense. Like, in this medieval, like, everything is a bit like crusty and busty, you know, like, do they even shower, or do they even have skincare? Like, it's like it's very cringe to see, you know, guys constantly, or men constantly upholding this beauty standard, like enforcing it. And yeah, I will say, I it's not even just incels, because like, if we're gonna take something like Genshin Impact for an example, there are a lot of people in Genshin and Honkai and all that would simply not roll for someone because they're ugly, or have them in their party because they're ugly, or something like that, right? It's not even just like the core incel, it's kind of like everyone, if I'm gonna be honest. It is kind of everyone. Like, even how many times have I heard the gays and girls say, I'm never gonna play Wolverine because he's ugly. Like, I only play the girl characters because they're hot and pretty. Which I understand, I get it, you wanna like live your fantasy and all that, but it is kind of like, it's always this underlying thought in my mind, like, if Ahri was let's just say it how it is, if Ahri was some fat bitch, a lot of girlies would not be playing Ahri. Or if Ahri had like a more square jawline, and looked a bit more masculine, like none of these girlies, or so many of these girlies or whatever would not be playing Ahri. Like, let's just say how it is type of thing, right? And that kind of thought is a very sad thought to have, like, because you know that would happen. You know that would happen. Again, like, you don't need to make every single character ugly.
30 seconds before you attack.
But
Get ready.
you can. I feel like you can afford in media, whether that be movies, video games, anime. You can afford to have characters, a few characters here and there that are against the beauty standards, against the grain. Because that's kind of how you make progress, right? As a thing, and it's not just one thing. Like, you know, something that like more people that are bigger in size, it could then have a chain reaction to maybe seeing more people of color, and then more people of color, like authentic ones, could then maybe go into more people that are of LGBT, and from there on it can go into more other things, you know? Like, it can be a snowball. Like I said, I don't really think any of this will happen in, like, my lifetime. Maybe a little progress, but at the end of the day, we do live in a society and a world where people kind of value physical appearance and aesthetic very highly. Especially so for women. Having more variety and variation, diversity, and progress for women would actually extend to men as well. I remember seeing this, like, I don't know how I would kind of call it. I don't know if it would be like an incel-y post, but it was like, it was showing like models for like, you know like Target models or like Kmart, and like those like very like store or like stuff. I don't know if it's like a full like more undergarments, like bras, underwear and all that, but or even just like normal shirts and all that, you could see the models of like the women being like plus size and skinny and all that, whereas guys were just all fit, hot muscles, like no skinny guys, no fat guys, no whatever. And they were kind of like, this was like a guy post, like a guy posting it, and they were saying it was like, they were being frustrated at like how, oh my god, women can have plus size, but look at men, look how men have to adhere to this like hot muscle beauty standard. But it was kind of more like an angry, like masculine approach of like fuck women type of thing. Like if men had to do this, like fuck women, you know, like and so I feel like if we saw more like bigger women, which would slowly progress into like more bigger people are fine, like it's literally fine, then maybe we would also see more like bigger guys. And like, don't get me wrong, like we all have preferences and all that, but it's more so like the idea of it's fine to be looking masculine. As a woman, it's fine to be on the bigger side or curvier side or whatever. I mean, some people make the argument of like, you don't want to glorify unhealthiness or whatever, which is like another topic. Cause I did once match with a guy on Hinge, and we chatted, and we got into a topic of this like stuff, and he really does not like bigger people. Like he actually has such a disgust at like fat people, in his word. Like it's disgusting, it's unhealthy, and it definitely obviously was like a very worrying to hear that, but, and his reasoning was about unhealthiness, which I don't really agree unhealthiness is the thing, because like for me, like I said, I'm unhealthy, I'm really skinny, and a lot of people think I'm fit, but I'm not fit. Like if I run one block sprinting, I actually could pass out with how much out of breath I am. Like there's one time when I was trying to get to a train, I was running late, the train was literally right there, like in front of me, but I was on the wrong side of the gate. I was on the wrong side of the gate, so I sprinted from one end of the train to the other end, like sprinting, and by then I missed the train, and then I was so out of breath that I was seeing different colors. Like the grass was blue, like quite literally there was not enough oxygen in my brain that my vision was getting blurry. The grass was turning blue, colors were changing, and then I lost vision for a bit. Like everything was so blurry. That's how unfit I am, but no one would think that, no one would care about that in a practical sense of like no one would have that same disgust of like, oh my god, fat bitches are so unhealthy, like fat bitches are so unhealthy and they should be fit, blah blah blah, like that's my reasoning. But it's like, yeah, if you're making unhealthiness your reasoning, I wonder how far that extends to. For him, it was actually surprisingly extended really far into things. Like, he thinks like having an addiction to, well, not an addiction, but consumerism is like very unhealthy, like buying lots of makeup or buying lots of video games or spending lots of time playing video games or spending lots of money on like Genshin Impact. Like $5,000 on Genshin Impact is like a bit like unhealthy, which I kind of can see, even though but you know what, we're not gonna go too much on this, but point is, like, I know there are people out there that definitely have a very big disgust with like bigger body sizes, which kind of makes me wonder, like, if these people had in their life had like someone that they loved, or you know, like a bigger mom, right, would they grow up to respect and more see bigger people as like not just like ugly fat bitches, you know? Or if they would grow up to be like, hey, like they're fine, and like my mom is very big, but I love her and she's amazing. And yeah, because if we take the like Islanders for an example, Samoans or whatever, their culture, they have like, they don't have a culture of like fat shaming or anything. It's very much like fat is more healthy. Maori, yeah. And like there's been studies of how like families and girls that grow up in that Maori culture or whatever, they never thought about their physical appearance of like how big they were, but as soon as they entered the Western world and entered the public schools and all that, they started caring and wanting to be skinny and all that because of that societal pressure. And you know, like they don't care when they first grow up, they don't care about like, they don't really care about how big they are because no one, like the people they grow up with are like loving, the kind, and they just respect that naturally because they grew up that way. So I wonder, like the people that hate on fat people, like did they ever have someone like that? Like did they have a bigger person in their life that was someone that they loved or cared about or whatever? Or has it always been just like skinny people in their life? Or maybe they did have a bigger person in their life, but they were very mean or something, and so now they've somehow held this like resentment, but like subconsciously. Maybe it's just like subconsciously they've now associated like fat people with like the people that they hate or something in their life. Is this chat a little random? Like my topic, like us talking about this a bit random with me playing Marvel Rivals. Also, I can't really concentrate. I haven't been able to concentrate playing at all. I'm not playing very well. You know what makes society think skinny is more attractive? Is an interesting one. I know that there has been an evolution, because like back then in the, I don't know the terms and all that of like back then being bigger was seen as more beautiful because it was more healthier and they were more rich, and maybe it's Victorian era, I don't know. They were more rich and blah blah blah, wealthy, and I don't exactly know what was the specific reasoning as to how society then moved on to skinny from there, like what was the change. But it is interesting that we've somehow moved into it collectively, and it's so universal, or mostly universal, right? Like, I think about like how did most countries, race and all that somehow eventually decide on skinny is the thing. I remembered watching a video on this type of stuff from a creator called Mina Lee. Anyone watch her? We're Mina Lee stan, right? Mina Lee. She's made videos on the like society and like fat shaming and all that. I just want to say I'm very well aware that I benefit from the current current beauty standards of skinny, even though in the long run I know it has a lot of implications for my community, trans community, and even like for women in general. So I just want to acknowledge that I'm aware that I am skinny and I benefit from it. Sometimes I think about how when I'm talking to a guy, like from dating, I think about how they most likely don't think about this to my level of degree. They don't have to worry about these questions. I mean, obviously they probably think about like to a certain degree of looking nice and all that, but I don't know if they ever think about it to this degree. And so I think it's very special when you can find someone, a guy that doesn't care too much about, I mean, like, we have preferences, don't get me wrong, I also have preferences, but when I say don't care, I more mean about like not being so strict with things like, oh my god, a woman has to shave, blah blah blah. You know how I was saying about how I wasn't too sure how I felt about wording, like I resonate with like one of the comments in here, but I don't have to word it. I've gone with fights with few people on dating apps, like when a guy says, I like it when a girl shaves, or blah blah blah, like, oh, I didn't want to eat your ass out because it had some hair or whatever. It's like, to me it's really cringe in the sense like I don't live to shave my body constantly and be hairless and blah 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 for years, you know? It's just like, it's not practical. It's actually impractical. And it's cringe and jarring because they don't understand that. Like, yes, I get that you like someone that's like hairless, like whatever, but it's actually impractical to be that way all the time. And it's like, you wouldn't do this shit, like you wouldn't be doing any of this shit as a guy. So it's crazy that you would expect this out of the girl constantly, right? And so there was one guy I had chatted to, not anymore at the moment since he kind of stepped back for mental health reasons, which is fine, fair enough. So we don't talk anymore. He needs a break from the dating scene. But when he told me like how he doesn't really care if someone's like has hair or whatever, like it's cool and all, but at the end of the day he understands that it's like just not practical always, and it's like at the end of the day it doesn't really matter too much, like in the grand scheme of things. Like being able to find a guy like that is like really nice because they get it, and it also, it doesn't end and begin there. It doesn't begin and end there, as in if he's understanding of this and like mature enough for it, he's most likely gonna be understanding and mature for many other things in life, right? Like for example, if someone is so hell-bent on like, you know, someone not being like hairless, then what else down the line are they going to be annoying about? Like, okay, if you don't like that I don't shave, and you think it's like not attractive and turn off, then what else down the line will you have a problem with? Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I've actually gone to a few fights with guys where they say stuff like, you know, I like a girl that's hairy, blah blah blah, and I kind of make some comment. I can't remember what comment I made, and then it led into like this, like a little passive aggressive on my end. I get it, and then it ended up being a very heated argument and fighting and blah blah blah, which is probably for the better anyways. Like I wouldn't want someone like that in my life as my partner. Right, Alchemy. If they're so picky about this, they're most likely gonna be picky about other things. Like, for example, like, what if I make more money? Are they gonna be more emasculated? Like, if someone... I have some guys, like, get really worried about if I have a bigger downstairs, like, I have a princess bun down there. If anyone doesn't know, I'm trans. I haven't had the surgery down there. And some guys get worried that I might have a bigger one than them. And it's kind of like... who cares? Like, if you're worried about this, then like what else are you gonna be worried about? Like, obviously I would prefer someone that is bigger, right? Obviously I like a nice size, but it's kind of like, if you're worried about this, then you're worried about not being manly enough, or like being emasculated. And it's like, could that then be about also money? Like, if someone makes more money than you, like the woman, would you then feel emasculated? Or if they're more successful, would you feel more emasculated? Because there are people that are like that. There are guys that don't like it when their woman is more successful or whatever. Has there anyone in chat here kind of spoken to a guy before in the dating scene, and they kind of just like say something and you just like, it just irks you, like just like hits a nerve of like, you are expecting me to look a certain way or do certain things, but I know for sure as how you would not do that. Like, if only you knew how much work it took or whatever, you know, like, you would not. Like, for example, like gay guys in Grindr being like, like maybe a twink on Grindr being like, I only like a big 8-inch guy with big hot muscle. Then like, I wonder if there's ever like a guy in here possibly that thinks like, if only these twinks knew how much work it was to go to the gym and get this body, because like it does. I'm sure it would take a lot of time and effort and hard work and blah blah blah. Like,
I'm not judging.
and here this twink ass person is expecting the most when they are doing nothing, type of thing, you know? Probably. I don't know, is anyone that kind of feels like has these type of stories? I like, with me being skinny, and I'm sure I'll be skinny for my most of my life, but there's a sinking feeling sometimes. I think about if something did happen to me, like maybe I had a medical condition down the line, or maybe I just went a bit on like a sad phase and all that, and I grew a lot. Would they kind of be like, okay, well, you've gotten bigger, I'm out now, like breaking up now, type of thing, or what, you know? I was told this up onto college because I'll earn more money as a lawyer. Yeah, that's just so cringe. It's just, it's like that. It's that, like, they don't understand that we're not living for them. Like, we don't live our lives to be in their gaze, for their appeal, for their thing. I think it's like frustrating because it's like, it's so painfully obvious to the point where like I'm saying the concept of like, no fucking shit, this person doesn't live for you. It's so painfully obvious, that concept, that like, how can it be lost on someone, right? Like, if someone doesn't know that, like, what, like, how much IQ are you lacking? Like, if a guy is like, I work, I don't do cooking, women do the cooking, but it's like, then the woman says like, I work as well as you, like we have the same work hours, I don't really want to cook all the time. But then it's like, a guy's like, no, but I don't want to cook, and guys don't cook, whatever. It's kind of like, there has to be a full-on dissonance of like not being able to see the other person as an actual person and caring, to like think that and say that, you know, like you would actually truly lack something.